Getting married? Come quick. On Christmas Day, Lucas sent me a photo of a wedding venue with just these 5 words and an address. When I rushed there in a wedding dress, he and his friends burst into laughter. See? I told you. 1 word from me and she comes running in a wedding dress. I bet if I told her to go die, she would. Lucas ignored my embarrassment and publicly proposed to Olivia, even accusing me of blackmail and threatening to take me to the police station. That is, until my new husband suddenly appeared and embraced me. Lucas's eyes instantly turned red. I stood there like a clown, surrounded by Lucas and his friends. Nina, have you no shame? Lucas already has a girlfriend, yet you're still trying to be the other woman. I've seen desperate, but never as desperate as you. After all these years, has Lucas ever given you the time of day? Yet you still fantasize about marrying him. The way she worships Lucas, I could watch it forever, haha. My ears were filled with all kinds of vile comments. I just looked at Lucas, hoping to find a hint of guilt or remorse in his eyes. But I was disappointed. Lucas stood with his hands in his pockets, wearing a smug grin. Nina, it's just a joke. You're not upset, are you? Honestly, I never thought you'd actually show up in a wedding dress. What, so eager to marry me? I used to love that cocky attitude of his, thought it was cool. Now it just looked despicable. I took a deep breath. What if I said I was upset? As soon as I spoke, someone shoved me from behind. Who are you to be upset? You've been clinging to our Lucas for years. Being played like this is what you deserve. If you've got any dignity left, don't come crawling back to our Lucas this time. Lucas looked at me too, his eyes full of contempt. Acting like a saint after being a slut. Nina, am I giving you too much face? My heart suddenly ached. The Lucas who once promised to protect me and keep me from harm had ended up hurting me the most. I'd known Lucas since the day I was born. In kindergarten, when other kids bullied me, he pinned one down and beat him until his head bled, getting himself bruised in the process. I was so scared I burst into tears, but he just hugged me and smiled. Don't be afraid, Nina. Big Brother will protect you. That protection lasted for over a decade. Though we never officially crossed that line, we had an unspoken understanding. Classmates assumed we were a couple. For the first 20-some years of my life, there was no one but him. But in his heart, another woman had moved in. Now I don't want him either. Don't worry, I'm getting married. From now on, I won't cling to you anymore. Lucas, you're free. What did she say? Getting married? Who is she kidding? Didn't she say she wouldn't marry anyone but our Lucas in this lifetime? Maybe this lifetime is just that short for her. Nina, even if you're trying to get our Lucas's attention, you don't need to use such a clumsy tactic. Lucas also looked at me with disdain. You say you're getting married. Where's the guy? Bring him out so we can see. If it's true, I'll give you a big red envelope as thanks for finally leaving me alone. Yeah, us too. Such a joyous occasion deserves some firecrackers to celebrate. Looking at their smug faces, I laughed coldly and was about to take out my phone. All right, stop teasing her. Olivia, who had been silent all along, finally spoke up. She pointed at the hotel across the street. Nina, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I saw that the bride getting married had the same name as you and thought it would be funny to play a joke on you. If I offended you, I apologize. Before I, the victim, could speak, Lucas's friends jumped to her defense. Olivia, she's trying to steal your boyfriend. Why are you apologizing to her? Exactly. We know you're kind-hearted, but you have to be selective. Someone as manipulative as her, you can't outplay her. Don't let her steal what's yours. Lucas's friends had always looked down on me. In their eyes, Olivia was a goddess on a pedestal, a perfect match with Lucas. I was just a toad lusting after swan meat. I ignored their mockery and gestured toward the hotel across the street. Have you ever considered that I might be that bride getting married? For a moment, there was silence. Then the next second, they erupted into thunderous laughter. Pfft, Nina, I never thought you were this desperate to get married. Just because the bride has the same name, you fantasize that it's you. The name Nina is so common. If that bride knew someone was impersonating her, who knows how unlucky she'd feel. As he spoke, Lucas grabbed one of the guys and pushed him toward me. If you're really that desperate, why don't you get with Andy? He used to chase after you in high school, right? I'm sure he'd be happy to take my leftovers. Andy didn't seem to mind being pushed around and teased. He grinned at me with his crooked teeth. Nina, why don't you consider me? I don't mind your past. If you're with me, I'll treat you well, I promise. I didn't even give him a glance. I had no desire to say more to any of them. I'm not lying to you. The bride getting married across the street is me. If you don't believe me, you can come with me and see for yourselves. Lucas's face suddenly turned cold. Nina, haven't you had enough? If you want to embarrass yourself, don't drag us into it. It's someone's big day and you're just causing trouble. What exactly are you trying to accomplish? Olivia looked at me disapprovingly as well. Come on, Nina. There's no need to destroy someone's once-in-a-lifetime wedding just to save face. That kind of thing will come back to haunt you. For a moment, I really regretted not taking out the invitation and throwing it in their faces, letting them see the truth with their own eyes. But they mistook my silence for agreement. Lucas's friends looked at me like a criminal. It's not the first time she's done something like this. She knows Lucas is with Olivia now, but she still throws herself at him, wanting to marry him. It's only a matter of time before karma catches up with her. I used to think she was just stupid. I never realized she was so malicious. No wonder she never won Lucas's heart. Women like her deserve to be despised by everyone, to never be able to hold their heads up again. These kinds of humiliating words, I'd heard them so many times over the past few years that I'd become numb to them. Suddenly, one of Lucas's friends' eyes lit up. Lucas, instead of letting her pester you like this, why don't you and Olivia make it official? Let certain people finally give up hope. Yeah, we all support you. Lucas, propose. 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 The chants grew louder and louder. Olivia's face turned as red as an apple. Stop it, you guys. Lucas and I haven't been together that long. This is way too fast. Her mouth said it was too soon, but her eyes kept glancing at my wedding dress, clearly revealing a hint of longing. Lucas's reaction didn't disappoint them. He grinned. I was planning to find the right moment to propose to her, but since she's destined to be my wife in this lifetime, why not exercise my rights early? After delivering this classic TV drama line, he pulled out a ring from his pocket like a magician. Though surprised, I wasn't shocked. Lucas had been pursuing her for years. Surely he'd had this ring ready for a while. All at once, his friends were whistling, screaming, making my ears hurt. One even jumped up, grabbed the veil from my head, pulling out a chunk of my hair in the process. I winced in pain. That friend handed the veil to Lucas. Smiling, he placed it on Olivia, then got down on one knee in front of her. Olivia, I fell in love with you the first time I saw you. Every day with you makes me feel like the happiest man in the world. I want to be with you forever. Olivia, will you marry me? Olivia's eyes welled up with tears. She didn't even wait for him to finish before throwing herself into his arms. Yes, I will. Lucas's friends had completely lost it. They danced and sang around the couple, more excited than if they'd proposed successfully themselves. Unlike the heartbreak I felt when I first learned they were together, now I felt completely calm. Lucas and Olivia embraced, their lips locked, as snowflakes perfectly drifted down from the sky. It was romantic for them, but I was freezing. Congratulations. Now that the proposal is done, can I have my veil back? I'm waiting to get married too. The atmosphere instantly shattered. One of Lucas's friends shoved me angrily. Nina, are you doing this on purpose? Lucas just proposed, and you're saying these mood-killing things. What's your problem? Yeah, if you want to cry, just cry. Our Lucas will only love Olivia in this lifetime. Go back to wherever you came from and leave us alone. I didn't understand. I just wanted my veil back. What did I do wrong? With the happy moment ruined, Lucas glared at me with displeasure. Olivia awkwardly tried to remove the veil. Whether she was in a hurry or did it intentionally, there was a loud rip as her manicured nails tore a huge hole in the veil. Olivia let out a small gasp. Nina, I'm so sorry. How much was this veil? I'll pay you back. Pay for what? This is obviously some cheap $9.99 thing from the internet. No wonder it tore so easily. It's just a veil. Why are you making Olivia feel bad about it? Consider it a gift for her engagement. Huh, they sure were generous with other people's property. I didn't waste words arguing with them. I took out my phone and opened my payment code. This is a handmade veil my husband ordered from Italy. The total price was $105,000. But since we're friends, I'll round it down. $100,000. Just scan and pay. Olivia's face froze, her eyes looking to Lucas for help. His friends exploded. Their spit nearly hit my face. Nina, why don't you just rob us? $100,000 for some torn veil? Is it because you're jealous that Lucas proposed to Olivia, so you're trying to extort us? I bet this was her plan all along. She brought a damaged veil on purpose, waiting for us to fall into her trap. I almost laughed from anger. They were the ones who grabbed my veil, and now they were turning things around, accusing me of setting them up. Besides, paying for something you damaged is basic decency. If you don't believe me, I can ask my husband to bring the receipt. Enough. Lucas's face darkened. Nina, how far do you want to take this? Let me tell you, no matter how hard you try, I will never like you. Apologize to Olivia now and we'll drop this. I looked at him in disbelief. They damaged my property, refused to pay for it, and then demand that I apologize to her? What kind of logic is that? Olivia's eyes immediately welled up with tears. Nina, I know you don't like me, but Lucas and I truly love each other. Why do you have to make things difficult for us? Me, making things difficult for her? What a joke. Lucas pulled her into his arms protectively, his eyes shooting daggers at me. Nina, are you going to apologize or not? I laughed coldly. She damaged my property. Why should I apologize? Lucas laughed in rage. Do you realize that what you're doing constitutes extortion? $100,000 is a significant amount. Do you want to go to jail? Why waste words on her? Call the police. I don't believe she can get away with this. I didn't care, but the wedding was about to start. I didn't want a situation where the bride was missing from her own wedding. When I received Lucas's message, my husband and I were reviewing the procedure with the staff. I thought it would be good to clear things up with Lucas and properly say goodbye to my past, so I ran out of the hotel. Now I realized my mistake. It was pointless to waste words on him. They thought I was backing down and looked at me smugly. Scared now? Too late. Italian handmade veil? That's hilarious. If you've got the guts, call that made-up husband of yours. Otherwise, be a good girl and go to jail. Nina, are they talking about me? A deep voice suddenly came from behind. Ethan strode over, naturally placing his hand on my waist. My back straightened instantly. Lucas and his friends fell silent for a moment, staring with varying expressions at this man who had suddenly appeared. I curled my lips slightly. Let me introduce you. This is my husband, Ethan Fu. That's impossible. Someone gasped. Ethan smiled and nodded at them. Hello, I'm Nina's husband. One of Lucas's friends sneered. Didn't Nina like Lucas? How did she find someone new so quickly? Actually, I have to thank Lucas for my meeting with Ethan. After Lucas and Olivia got together, I was heartbroken and went to a bar to drink away my sorrows. Somehow, I ended up in bed with Ethan. The next morning when I woke up, he was still there. I was so embarrassed I wanted to crawl into a hole. But he sat calmly on the bed, and the first thing he said to me was, "Want to marry me?" At the time, I was still emotional from my heartbreak and impulsively said yes. Since then, I've been grateful countless times that I met him at the bar that night. Unlike the arrogant Lucas, Ethan was considerate and gentlemanly. After our engagement, he flew me to Italy to have a master craftsman custom-make this wedding dress and veil. He even planned the entire wedding himself, while I got to relax and enjoy being carefree. Lucas looked at Ethan for a moment, then suddenly snorted. Nina, stop the act. Where did you find this actor? His performance is terrible. How could you possibly marry anyone but me? Perhaps I had loved him too much in the past, giving him the illusion that I couldn't live without him. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Would this gentleman like to see my marriage certificate with Nina? I don't have it with me, but I took a photo. I can show you. As he pulled out his phone, one of Lucas's friends snatched it away. Holy shit. Nina really did get married to this guy. She's really over our Lucas. The date on the certificate is from a month ago. Isn't that the day after Lucas and Olivia got together? Now I get it. It's still about Lucas. She probably found some guy to fake a marriage certificate just to make Lucas jealous. Hearing this, Lucas suddenly smiled. He crossed his arms with an "I knew it" expression. Ethan couldn't help but laugh. You all have quite the imagination. Since you're Nina's friends, if you have time, why not come in for a wedding drink? Lucas snorted. Nina, stop this nonsense. I don't care where you found this man, but come back with me. Don't let him deceive you. I pointed to the welcome sign at the hotel entrance, amused. I told you, I'm getting married today. Why don't you take a closer look at who the groom is on that sign? Everyone looked in the direction I was pointing. When they saw the sign with groom, Ethan Fu, bride, Nina Joe, Lucas's pupils dilated in shock. He looked at me in disbelief. You prepared a whole wedding just to spite me? I was speechless. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. The staff was urging us to get ready as the wedding was about to start. Ethan suddenly noticed, "Where's your veil?" I instinctively looked at Olivia. Ethan followed my gaze and frowned deeply when he saw the veil with a huge hole in it. Lucas's friends were dismissive. We were just talking about this. Nina claims this torn veil is worth $100,000 and wants Olivia to pay for it. She's trying to extort us, and we were about to call the police. Ethan let out a cold laugh. Then call the police. What? They stared at Ethan in shock. Ethan pulled out a receipt. This veil was handcrafted by Italy's most renowned master. If you don't believe me, take a look at the receipt. Furthermore, you damaged my wife's veil first, then falsely accused her of extortion. I reserve the right to pursue legal action against you. They were all dumbfounded. Lucas grabbed the receipt and looked down at it. Then he shot me a glance, his face instantly turning pale. Olivia tugged at his sleeve, clearly panicking. Lucas, I really didn't mean to. I didn't know the veil was so expensive. Yes, Nina, this is all a misunderstanding. We're all friends here. Can't we just let this go? Let it go? I scoffed. I don't have friends who try to send me to jail. That shut them up. Having made my point, Ethan put his arm around me and started to leave. But a large hand caught my wrist. Nina, are you really going to marry him? I looked at Lucas, bewildered. What? Still think I'm acting? Lucas's lips moved, but he couldn't utter a word for a long while. I didn't have time for him. I shook off his hand and walked into the hotel with Ethan. I'm sorry you had to see that embarrassing scene. Ethan stroked my head. Silly, it's not your fault. Life is long. Everyone falls for a jerk now and then. You're so wonderful, he'll regret it sooner or later. Touched, I gave him a quick kiss. Ethan pulled me closer and kissed me deeply in return. With the veil gone, I was fretting over what to do. Then Ethan produced a new one from somewhere and placed it on my head. I looked at him in delight. How do you have a spare? Ethan smiled. Not just the veil, I have several wedding dresses ready too. If you like, you can change into different ones anytime. Though we hadn't known each other long, his every action showed how much he valued this wedding and me. My heart warmed. I thought this must be heaven's compensation for the 20-some years I'd spent chasing after Lucas, letting me meet such a wonderful husband. I was nervous before going on stage. Ethan rubbed my cold hands. Don't be afraid. I'm here with you. My anxious heart calmed instantly. As the doors slowly opened, I immediately spotted Lucas, Olivia, and their group standing below. Why were they here? While I was wondering, my eyes inadvertently met Lucas's in the audience. His face was as white as paper, his eyes fixed on me. He seemed unable to believe that I had really gone and married someone else. When the wedding reached the ring exchange, Lucas suddenly broke free from his friends and rushed forward. Nina, you can't marry him. All the guests were stunned. My parents were so angry they stood up, pointing at Lucas and cursing him. He paid no attention to anything, his eyes red as he lunged forward. Nina, come with me. I looked at him, confused. Lucas, what are you doing? He gave a bitter smile. Nina, I admit you've won. I can't stand by and watch you marry someone else. Come with me, I'll give you anything you want. He had just proposed to Olivia, promising to be with her forever. And now, not even an hour later, he'd changed his mind? I stared at him coldly. Lucas, I'm not doing this to spite you, and I'm not playing games. This is my wedding day. If you have any decency left, leave now. No! Lucas's voice had a tremor he didn't even notice. You loved me so much before. How could you change your heart so quickly? I did love him deeply in the past, loved him to the point of having no dignity, no sense of self, even enduring repeated humiliation and mockery from him and his friends. But the truth is, no one in this world truly loves someone forever. When you've accumulated enough disappointment and heartbreak, leaving becomes inevitable. I looked at him, my gaze unwavering. Lucas, I don't love you anymore. His eyes instantly reddened. No! Nina, if you want to get married, I can marry you too. Divorce him, and I'll marry you right away. I almost laughed from anger. Ethan coldly curled his lip. Mr. Liu, publicly trying to persuade my wife to divorce me isn't very appropriate. Shut up. Lucas's eyes were bloodshot as he glared at Ethan. If it weren't for you, Nina would never have left me. You homewrecker, give Nina back to me. Lucas had always avoided responsibility and shifted blame when faced with problems. He would never look for causes within himself. Even without Ethan, we could never have been together. Not to mention Olivia standing between us. At that moment, Olivia, who had been watching from below, suddenly rushed up and slapped Lucas several times. Lucas, how could you do this to me? If you marry her, what does that make me? What am I to you? Lucas shoved her hard. Get lost. I never loved you. If it weren't for Nina, I would never have been with you. Before I could understand what he meant, Lucas suddenly went berserk. He grabbed Olivia's hand and forcibly pulled off the ring he had given her. His movements were so rough that he tore off a layer of her skin, making her scream in pain. He didn't care at all. Excitedly, he held the ring up to me. Nina, I prepared this ring 10 years ago. You were always the one I wanted to propose to. I didn't even look at it. My fingers unconsciously caressed the diamond ring Ethan had just placed on my finger. No thanks. I already have a ring. The light in Lucas's eyes instantly dimmed. At that moment, security finally arrived and was about to drag him away. He broke free from them, dropped to his knees, and began slapping himself violently. Nina, I was wrong. I apologize. I just loved you too much. But after we started college, you became more and more distant. Everyone says you don't cherish things that come too easily. I was afraid you would change your heart and fall for someone else, so I came up with the idea of using Olivia to make you jealous. I never loved her. Nina, I know I was wrong. Please don't leave me, okay? I really can't live without you. My mind went blank. I never imagined that all the humiliation and pain I had suffered over the past few years was because of such a ridiculous reason. During college, I had studied hard to be worthy of Lucas, and for a while, I did neglect him. Just because of that, he came up with this horrible idea, continuously hurting me in the name of love to satisfy his twisted view of romance. His behavior not only hurt me but also Olivia. Olivia lunged at him in rage. You bastard! How could you do this to me? What am I to you? Lucas let her hit him, his eyes filled with pain as he stared directly at me. I clenched my fists and looked at him with disgust. Lucas, you make me sick. He lowered his head in agony. Ethan put his arm around me and looked down at Lucas. Mr. Liu, I should actually thank you. If you hadn't been so stupid and so full of yourself, how would a wonderful girl like Nina have ever come to me? Lucas gritted his teeth, unwilling to give up. Nina, I may have used the wrong methods, but that was only because I loved you too much. I guarantee, no one in this world loves you more than I do. If he truly loved me, how could he have watched me get hurt without feeling anything? How could he have proposed to another woman right in front of me? He was just bullying me in the name of love. Lucas, this kind of love is sickening. Nina Joe would rather not have it. With that, I ignored him and called security to drag him out. As they pulled him away, he kept shouting, Nina, I won't give up. I'll wait until you forgive me, no matter what. After the wedding, I looked at Ethan. I'm sorry. I didn't know things would turn out like this. If you want a divorce. Before I could finish, Ethan covered my mouth with his hand. Nina, don't say such things. You don't know how happy I am to have married you. I blinked in confusion. Ethan, why are you so good to me? We had only known each other for just over a month, but his indulgence and love often made me feel unworthy. I had wondered if perhaps he was just that kind of person. But wasn't he being a bit too nice? Ethan looked at me and sighed. Nina, let me take you somewhere. I changed out of my wedding dress in a daze and got in the car with him. An hour later, we arrived at a cemetery. I looked at him curiously. Why are we here? He took my hand and stopped in front of a tombstone. The elderly woman in the photo looked somewhat familiar, but I couldn't quite place her. Who is this? She's my grandmother. I looked at him in surprise, not understanding why he had brought me here. Do you remember saving an elderly lady 3 years ago? The long-buried memory suddenly resurfaced. I remembered that day after evening study hall when I came across an elderly woman who had collapsed and lost consciousness. Though I was scared, my conscience wouldn't let me leave her to die. I stayed with her until the ambulance arrived. Later, I went to the hospital with her and even covered her medical expenses. A few days later, her grandson called to thank me and invited me to dinner. I was a bit embarrassed and declined. After that, he repaid the medical expenses I had advanced, and we never contacted each other again. I never would have guessed that the elderly woman's grandson was Ethan. Ethan smiled and pulled me into his arms. Back then, I thought that girl was especially kind-hearted. I wanted to be friends with her if I ever got the chance to meet her. I never expected to actually run into you at school later. But you seemed to be in a bad mood then, so I didn't bother you. At that time, I was completely focused on Lucas, suffering terribly because of his relationship with Olivia. Ethan suddenly looked at me seriously. Nina, there's one thing Lucas said that I want to correct. I looked at him in confusion. I love you, he said. I will love you more than anyone else in this world. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Looking into his deep eyes, I knew that this time, I had truly fallen. Ethan told me that his grandmother had passed away 6 months ago. She went peacefully, though it was a pity she never got to meet her grandson's wife. He brought me here today first to see his grandmother, and second to open up to me. As we left, we kowtowed to his grandmother a few times. Ethan's parents were reasonable people and didn't blame me for what had happened that day. Ethan must have put in a good word for me with them. After that day, Lucas kept calling me, refusing to give up. I blocked him, but he added me again under the pretext of paying for the veil. Though Ethan wasn't short on money, money is money, we couldn't just let them off the hook. After receiving the payment, I blocked him again. After being threatened by Ethan that day, Lucas's friends, afraid of being sued, all came to apologize to me. Olivia had her pride. To get revenge on Lucas, she actually got together with one of his best friends. Later, probably finding it meaningless, she broke up with him and left the country. One day, I received a package. When I opened it, I saw a ring, the same one Lucas had been holding at the wedding. There was also a letter attached, but I didn't even read it before sending it back. Some things, once missed, are missed forever. Now I have my own happiness, and the best ending for both of us is for each to find peace in our separate lives.